Well, hello. Let's see. It is an absolutely gorgeous Saturday afternoon. Oh boy, perfect day for a little photography. I was sitting back earlier wondering exactly where could I go. Well, I decided to go someplace again that's pretty close to where I live. This has turned out to be one of my most favorite photography locations for landscape. As you can see, it's a nice wooded area, and there's a lot of contrast between the greenery here. And if you look off to the left, you've got a lot of brown leaves over here that have been left over from fall and over the winter. So this should make for some pretty good photographic opportunities today. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, as always, let's find a composition.
My mind's accelerating when I'm thinking about the good times that we had. My friend said you were overrated. I always told them they couldn't understand the things you did to me. You showed me what it's like to fall in love. Only you could send me.
Well, after a considerable amount of scouting around, I came across this stream, and as I was coming through, I noticed this tree. As a result of the water coming through the stream, the water erosion has exposed a great deal of the root system associated with this particular tree. It's caught my attention right away when I saw it. So I decided to come over and see if I could arrange a composition. Basically, the composition I've chosen is I'm not going to actually photograph the entire root system itself, but basically just a portion of it. Essentially, I'll probably use a composition. It'll be a square crop in the final print, if it works. It'll be basically a square from here to here and here. So basically, this is the only portion of the tree that I'm going to photograph. I'm thinking it might make a reasonably good abstract image. So I'll go ahead and, and see what I can do with it. All right, I'm actually going to take 3 exposures. The first exposure is going to be for the bottom root here. And the second exposure will be about right here. And the third exposure will be at the very end. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm actually zoomed into about 65 millimeters. So at 65 millimeters, I'm compromising depth of field. So I'd like the entire, basically all layers of the root system to be in focus. All right, I'm also using a polarizing filter and a cable release to limit any movement that may occur. All right, it's giving me about 1/8 of a second at f-stop 11, ISO 100. All right, I'm also using mirror lockup. All right, there's the first exposure. Come down and focus for the next portion. And I'll zoom in at 100% to make sure everything is in focus, and focus manually. All right, zoom out. And here's the second exposure. All right, and now for the third and final exposure. I'll be focusing for the roots at the very bottom. All right, and zoom out. And this will be the third exposure. All right, And let's take a look to see how they look here. All right, they look good. Let's move on to the next composition. Hopefully I can find something. I've probably got about 3 hours of sunlight left before sunset. So I should be able to find something. Well, it seems as I was looking for another composition, I headed down a bit further down this little stream here, and it seems like there are numerous trees that are suffering from the same problem. Water erosion has actually eroded most of the soil away from the roots, and the roots are pretty well exposed. I've come across something else here that seems pretty interesting. This tree is actually leaning, so I wouldn't be surprised that if maybe within the next year or so this tree actually falls down across the stream. But there's a pretty interesting composition here. The root formations are very interesting. This is right. It actually looks like there's almost tar on this particular part of the root. And as you can see, the roots are exposed here. You can actually see the layers of strata underneath the roots themselves. So I've already arranged a composition, and I'm going to go off and fire off a couple exposures. All right, so I've settled on this one last composition. It's not sunset yet, but the sun is pretty much going down below some of the high elevations in the background, and also behind some trees. But I've decided on this one last composition. There are some trees right here that are falling, and if I look, they basically form layers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 in the back. So what I'm doing is I'm going to make an exposure for probably about 4 of the branches that are falling. Probably here, here, in the center, and then one final exposure in the background. And I will blend all of those together in Photoshop. And it looks like this will be the last exposure for the day. All right, hopefully everything will come out nicely. Well, I guess that's it for today. We're losing the light here. Well, if you've enjoyed the video, please don't hesitate to comment, like, and please subscribe. Right? Until next time.